We will switch to English for our next two guests. Resilience and robustness have become fixed in the vocabulary of architecture these days. Maybe our experience of being less secure in times like these makes us look for buildings that withstand changes more easily. And sometimes the robustness comes from the building program, sometimes it results from the local climate. And both applies to the next project we will see, a complex program with many different uses, private, public, and in between, located on a northern coastline next to wind and salt water. The BLOX in Copenhagen, designed by OMA Architects Rotterdam, home of the Danish Architecture Center DAC, and many other functions as well. And how its robust surfaces work and how they relate to what is inside and outside, we will see and hear now from Adrian Fischer, who is a director at OMA and has been with OMA since 1996, and Thomas Roll, an architect who joined IGP Powder Coatings in 2005. And as Margit Ullemer said, IGP is also a turn-on partner. And a welcome to both of you from Vienna, and we are looking forward to you taking us to Copenhagen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Right, so I think I'm speaking first. I'm Adrian Fischer from, sorry, I don't see myself, from Rotterdam. So welcome, sunny Rotterdam. Can't see much of it. I'll be talking about this project BLOX, which we worked on for many years, was opened in 2018. It's a multifunctional building located on the harbour in the centre of historic and urban Copenhagen. The programme for the building is quite mixed. It has the Danish Architecture Center, offices, apartments, and a large car park, 27,000 square meters, but in a very difficult situation. The building from the outside is much more than it seems. And I'd like to, so as you see here in the screen, the location of the building is quite unusual. It's right on the harbour, but very close to the Parliament buildings. It's a tricky site. There was a brewery up until the 1960s. It burnt down, and after that there was never anything built. Since the 70s, there were many competitions tried, but it wasn't working. Even a concert hall was tried. Our client, Real Dania, gave us the brief to create something which would challenge the norms of Copenhagen, first of all, something that should be a generator of the public realm, both to connect the city to the harbour. You know, the harbour was long in a period of change, no longer a working harbour, but a very interesting aspect of the city. And beyond that, they wanted a very broad sustainability vision, really a social and economic generator in the city. Of course, the things like low energy, we managed to achieve a 40 kilowatt hour per square metre per year. For such a building, mixed use is quite unusual. Low carbon and also resource issues were of course looked at. But the most important thing was the wider social and economic impact of the building and what it did within the city and how it worked. So if you look at the site, you can see that it's on this sort of cusp between the historical part of the city and a changing part of the city with factories and large public buildings, and this slender strip along the edge of the harbour, rather difficult. And our site included the road as well. We were invited to build under and over the road. In itself all challenging, robustness both above and below ground. There's very little spatial definition of the whole site, which was indeed the problem with the whole site, had always been. What we did was we densified the program made a compact volume, and in doing so we managed to create spaces on 3 sides, and in fact 4 if you include the relationship to the water. So we brought the building to face up and indeed overhang the water. It provided a front to the Kierkegaard Square, which had always been a rather unloved part of the city. Many potentials, but untried. And at the rear of the building to the low historical 17th century buildings, we created an urban square which could then give an intimate plaza out of the wind. And then this thin strip along the road, between the road and the water, we created a kind of waterfront park. This sketch shows the key concepts of the project. History, waterside, the road. What we did with the building then, locating the building, as you can see here, over the road, we neutralized the noise and the negative visual impact of the road, absorbed it within the building. And then from that decent building site that we created, we could condense the program into something which could become quite interesting. A part of our brief was indeed to reinvent, relocate the Danish Architecture Centre, not only physically, but also within its own activities, to give it a new life as such. The underground became an interesting aspect of the whole project at the same time. As you can see, we managed to keep the building with this densification within the volume of the rest of the city. In contrast to many earlier schemes, we rejected any kind of high-rise. So this is the urban passage, or is a notion of the urban passage. So the building represents the square and the dynamic of the connections from waterfront through to city, within and through the building. The building is then an urban motor. It's to generate activity. It serves as a hub for the city, so all modes of transport coming in. The building had to include a quite large car park. 350 cars, ultimately it was reduced to. I think the idea of the importance of the car indeed even changed within the time of the project. But the idea, being located on the ring road, is that from this building people would change mode of transport to the water, to buses, to walking, to activate connections into the city, if not, in fact, to come to visit the activities on the site. This particular situation, of course, is quite well located with all the rest of the historical and cultural venues all through Copenhagen, of which there are many. The program was an intense activity for us. The traditional perimeter block, of which Copenhagen is full of, is very enclosed and not so engaged with the rest of the city. So we multiplied the connections. The DAC became really the center of the project. And of course, the circulation of the whole project with DAC at the center. Around the road, over the road, underground was and the urban passage underground is the entrance to the whole building.
Okay, that's clear.
So the urban passage was considered a public part of the building, the potential to hold any kind of public events, markets, cinemas. Here's a view of the completed building with the bookstore stepping through. And here's the urban connector, as you see. The small exhibition center was we call it the gold room, the treasure box. It's a high security exhibition space, but we managed to keep it open to the public on the sides. It's constrained, the view is constrained by a curtain which can close for security reasons. And the main exhibition space really is a kind of hub within the building from which every other space is connected. A robust interior, all sorts of theatrical events can happen within here. And here is a view. The whole exhibition space is indeed ringed, as you can see here, with offices. You can always view across the public spaces through to the other programs. Here, the fitness center, seen through the staircase. The auditorium, a 200-seat auditorium, overlooks the roadway, is a view onto the city, or you could say the city views into the space itself. You can see here the harbour. And this on the opening day, even events held over through that space. Above, there's a very intimate space with the apartments, 22 apartments as demanded by the city, but still the presence of the main exhibition space. The facade itself, we looked at the city to study the facade, and we're most inspired by the roofs and indeed the waterfront itself. As you know, the harbour, the colours of the harbour and of the sky, very neutral, very green sea tones, which we explored in different forms. And ultimately we landed on a very neutral palette, white frit to shade the office, the ring of offices around the outside, and then the housing with a green body glass. The client requested a lot of daylight within the whole building, so we were really, our focus was on high performance glass for a majority of the facades. We explored that in different ways for each of the different functions to achieve the climate requirements. And then for the opaque areas, we used powder-coated steel with this beautiful metallic, you know, the sort of marine quality that we were looking for, reflecting the light. And then a lot of, also the other material was then anodized aluminium, natural anodized aluminium. Yeah, as you can see here, the exteriors are rather straightforward in a way. And the building itself, inside and outside, needed to be robust because of its very public function. We used also stretched metal in the ceilings throughout in the public areas. This allowed us to bring the lighting through that we needed for the nighttime, which we used to announce the building. And of course, you know, I don't know if I can show you. We're looking here actually at the side of a ball cage. So there's also a basketball cage in. And this is really the life of the project. I mean, now this image here is the opening day, so rather festive, of course. But this is how the project is, how the building is used. It's a very public building and has a very active engagement from the client as such. And here you see it, you know, from the library building, the traffic actually passing through the building and right between and in the middle of everything. So, thank you. That was my contribution. And over to you, Thomas, I think.
Thank you, Adrian. I'll try the next slide then. Once more, it's back. So a warm hello to everybody who has found the time to follow our live stream this Friday afternoon. My name is Thomas Roll. And before I go into the details of this project, let's take a few seconds to get some background information about IGP powder coatings. What do we offer and where are we different? IGP is a Swiss manufacturer of aesthetic powder coatings, which could be applied in architectural or industrial applications on metals, but also as well on wooden composites. So for those who aren't familiar with powder coatings are finely ground powders. They consist of 100% solids, and they are made of hard, insoluble polymers. So they are solvent-free coatings. You could say they are like the eye shadows of industry. The coating powder is applied by using an air spray gun to the pre-treated workpiece. And the sprayed workpiece then is cured in an oven between 120 to 210 degrees Celsius for a few minutes, and which creates then a dense solid film. So the resistant surface is then complete. But IGP does not only produce brilliant and corrosion protective powder coatings. We are also a consultant partner for direct customers as well as for planners and architects, as you will see now by this beautiful cooperative moment we had with OMA. The project architects of OMA asked IGP powder coatings to provide samples which could help them to transfer their color concept to profile sections and outer cladding. So the architects also wanted IGP to propose a reliable, highly durable coating solution, which is suitable to the corrosive environment of the location. A key element in the BLOX project was careful consideration of the building's environment in at least three aspects, as we will see now. The first aspect was the built environment. Surrounded by buildings from the 16th to the late 18th century, built with red bricks and ochre-colored plaster facades, this BLOX project brought a vibrant, fresh vibe, and it was announcing the return of the urban life to this area in a modern form. IGP offered several individually formulated shades, of which the planners then finally chose a complex dark green metallic coating, which reflected perfectly the green waters of the harbor channel. However, the job involved much more than just selecting a color. To combine color with quality, the architects specified following technical requirements to the coating. It should have an anodic metallic appearance with a deep matte surface. It should have a robust coating with a high wear resistance that is also easy to clean. So they ultimately chose a highly weather resistant quality with at least 3 times the weathering, the gloss stability and the color stability of a conventional facade powder coating. A second consideration was the harbor environment's salty air. So this meant that the coated workpieces needed extra high corrosion protection. And these images show now the building's close proximity to the docklands, as well as to splashing and spraying waters. To prevent the filiform corrosion that often occurs in coastline environments, IGP proposed a reliable system consisting of a pre-anodization as a pre-treatment and a single layer high density coating structure with a coating thickness of at least 80 micron. So the aluminum oxide layer ensured optimum paint adhesion and also prevent corrosion. The third aspect is mechanical stress caused by its users, be it children or adults. So This demanded high mechanical robustness of the surfaces. The coating selected ensures excellent abrasion resistance thanks to a high cross-linking density of the polymeric chains. Here, finally, two examples of the coated substrates can be seen. To the left, the element facade, the green pane of glass glued to the dark green coated metallic substrate. And to the right, as Adrian was saying, the stretched metal or expanded metal coated with a dark green metallic coating. And with these impressions, I like to thank you for your attention and have a good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian Fischer and Thomas Roll, for your wonderful duo presentation. That is one of the interesting aspects of our format Turn on Partner here, is that we always have architects and their partners from the industry. So it's always interesting to sort of get an idea of how you actually work together. So my first question would be to you, Thomas Roll, with an experience, I guess, of working with different architects, and OMA is famous for their, or very well known for their conceptual and programmatic approach to design and to building. So was it a different and special experience for you working together with them?
I think we were overwhelmed by the different thoughts they had with regard to the quality, with regard to sustainability. It should also meet their ideas, their color concepts. So we were really like chased in a ring to find the best solution for them.
And a question, I think, to both of you. Adrian, you mentioned this marine quality which you were looking for in the whole building and with its relation to the surroundings. In determining the facade, was it also important to have to know what it looks like in different weather conditions? As we all know, in Nordic countries or in Scandinavia, with its different summers and winters, you have quite different light conditions and weather conditions. So did you do sort of studies how it looked like in the morning in September or in the evening in July in Copenhagen?
No, I must say we're not quite so detailed as that in our. But I think we were aware that the Copenhagen is actually not unlike Rotterdam, being a coastal city. Actually, much of the year it's very grey or neutral. I mean, you do have nice days, and when the sun's out, it can be beautiful. But actually, the dominating climate, but also just the tones are of a very soft greyness. And to somehow work with that, not to work against it, but to allow the subtlety to play out. That was really, I think, our focus. We didn't expect more than that. But yeah. Yeah, because in a way, yeah. Sorry. No, it's okay. I was going to say what we really did do. I think we, from early on, way before we contacted IGP, but we studied many different samples of different kinds of materials. We were really looking for something quite almost textual, textile-like to start with. And there are many beautiful materials, fabric materials that reflect light, that are very luxurious, and we sort of started with that kind of quality. And to try and find that in metal, and the first stop is, of course, anodized. We fell in love with the green anodizing, but that was absolutely impossible also in terms of toxicity to produce. And we were extremely happy, I must say, to come to where we were. We retained the qualities we wanted. So it sounds like for both of you, it was, as always, a learning process, like every project. Yeah.
It is.
And just a short final question to you, Adrian. I imagine it must be a very special task of designing an architecture center if you are an architect yourself, because you want to make a statement, but you don't want to intrude too much into the program. So was it a bit of a tricky situation for you, or was it fascinating? It probably
I think the interesting thing is that we were a non-Danish company being invited to design for the Danish Architecture Institute, and that was certainly uncomfortable within the Danish context. I think we were lucky in that sense to be far away from it and removed from it. You could say even unaware, and certainly. We just get on with our work and we think, well, what fun, designing for architecture. And I think a lot of the discomfort played out in the architectural scene within Copenhagen. And certainly when the building opened, you could see there was a lot of commentary on it. We made a study to start with from our research arm, AMO, made a study on commission of the client to look at what the Danish Architecture Institute was and how it was located, how did it want to position itself, really even in a financial sense, how do you attract people through the door? Not everybody in a normal society wants to come to an architecture institute. It's very low on the, how do you profile that within the general public, I think was the big concern. How do you make it a popular place? I mean, in that sense, there was a lot to. But that's really a lot of that, how do you program it is really the main issue, I think, and that lies in the end with the Institute itself. Exhibition spaces are, they're fun to do, but...
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Thanks to you both for your journey to Copenhagen, and we hope that everyone, when we're a bit more mobile in these times, will all come to visit.
That would be great.
The BLOX.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.